Hi everyone.
Stephanie sighed, rubbing her temples like she was exhausted just saying the words. We have to postpone the trip. We just can't afford it right now. I frowned. We could afford it. I had been saving for months. But she looked so stressed, so convincing, that I swallowed my frustration and nodded. Next year, I told myself. The kids would understand. A week later, I opened Facebook. The first photo stopped me cold. Stephanie on a beach, the exact one we had planned to visit. Cocktail in hand, laughing, wearing a swimsuit I had never seen before. Her parents were there too. And standing beside her, just a little too close, was a man I didn't recognize. The caption, "Family time is priceless." I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. She wasn't just lying. She was there with him while I stayed home believing every word she told me. I didn't call. I didn't text. I waited. And when she came home the week after, I was ready. I didn't sleep that night. I must have stared at that picture for hours, memorizing every little detail. The way she leaned into him. The way his hand hovered near her waist. The way she smiled like she didn't have a care in the world. Like she wasn't supposed to be home with me and our kids. Could have called her. Sent a message. Confronted her right then and there. But I didn't. Instead, I waited. I went about my days like nothing had changed. Took care of the kids. Went to work. Smiled when people talked to me. But inside, I was unraveling. Every time she sent a casual "love you" text, I wanted to throw my phone across the room. Every time I tucked our kids into bed, I felt sick knowing she had chosen him over this. Over us. Then, on Sunday afternoon, I heard the garage door open. She was home. I stood in the kitchen, sipping my coffee as I listened to the sound of her suitcase, wheels bumping against the floor. She walked in like nothing had happened, sunglasses perched on her head, sun-kissed skin, and a breezy smile. "Hey, babe," she said, dropping her bags. "Miss me?" She leaned in for a kiss, but I didn't move. I just looked at her, really looked at her. For the first time, I saw her for what she was. A liar. A woman who had just spent a week with another man. Coming home to the husband she expected to still be waiting for her. "How was your trip?" I asked, voice steady. She blinked, caught off guard. "Oh, it was nice to see my parents. Relaxing. Relaxing, right?" I nodded, setting my coffee down. "Must have been great. The beach looked amazing." Her smile faltered for just a second. Barely noticeable. But I saw it. Yeah, it was beautiful," she said, forcing her voice to stay casual. "Wish you could have been there." I bet she did. I could have called her out right then. Thrown the evidence in her face, demanded answers. But no, that would be too easy. I wasn't just going to tell her I knew. I was going to show her. And when I was done, she'd never forget it. I played along. That first night, I acted like nothing had changed. I asked about her parents, nodded at her stories, even laughed at her little complaints about flight delays. Meanwhile, inside, I was calculating every step. She thought she had gotten away with it. The next day, she slipped right back into routine. Morning coffee, checking her phone with that little smirk, like she was still texting him. I let her believe I was clueless. But I had work to do. First, I pulled up our shared bank statements. My hands tightened into fists as I scanned the charges. Hotel bookings, restaurants, spa treatments. She hadn't even tried to hide it. Then I made a call. Her mother answered, cheerful as ever. "Oh, we had such a wonderful time," she gushed. Stephanie was so happy to finally have some time away. "Yeah," I said slowly. "Just her and you guys, huh?" A pause. Then hesitation. "Well, she needed the break. And it was good for her to have some company." "Company?" Silence. Then, she changed the subject. But it was too late. I had my confirmation. I could have confronted her that night, but no. I wanted her to feel it first. So I did something she never expected. I planned a backyard party. Nothing huge, just close friends, neighbors, and a special guest. A guest who had no idea what was coming. Her lover's wife. I made sure she knew everything before she arrived. The screenshots, the receipts, the details Stephanie thought she had buried. The moment she saw my message, she agreed to come. And on the night of the party, as Stephanie laughed and sipped wine with our friends, thinking life was perfectly normal, I watched the front gate swing open, and her smile froze when she saw who walked in. The moment she saw her, Stephanie's entire body went rigid. Her wine glass hovered midair, her fake smile frozen in place. Around us, guests laughed, chatted, completely unaware that the temperature in the backyard had just dropped to ice cold. I watched her eyes flick to me, then back to her, the woman she never thought would show up here, her lover's wife. She wasn't loud, wasn't dramatic. She just walked in with quiet purpose, holding a folder in one hand and her phone in the other. I had given her everything, screenshots of the texts, the hotel bookings, the photo Stephanie's boyfriend had sent her. Everything she needed to see the truth. And now she was here to return the favor. "Oh," Stephanie finally breathed out, voice thin. "What are you?" I leaned back, sipping my beer. "Go ahead. Ask her." The woman didn't even look at Stephanie. She looked through her. "I just wanted to meet the woman my husband took to the beach," she said, voice calm. "Thought it was only fair, considering how much time you two have spent together." A few people turned, sensing the shift in energy. Conversations slowed. Stephanie laughed, forced and brittle. I don't know what you're talking about." She shot me a look like I was supposed to fix this. But I wasn't saving her. Not this time. "You don't." The woman tilted her head, flipping through her folder. "So this isn't you? At the hotel? At dinner? On the beach?" She pulled out a photo. I had never seen it before, but I didn't need to, because Stephanie had. It was her and him, arms around each other, laughing like they didn't have a care in the world. The same way she used to laugh with me. The guests were quiet now. People stared, whispering. Stephanie's face turned pale. "Where did you get that? Your boyfriend isn't as good at covering his tracks as he thinks," I said casually, setting my drink down. "And you? You really thought I wouldn't find out?" She looked at me, then really looked at me, and I saw it. Not guilt, not regret, fear. She knew. She was caught. And I wasn't done yet. Stephanie's breathing turned shallow. Her hands gripped the edge of the table like it was the only thing keeping her upright. Around us, people whispered, confused, trying to piece together what was happening. But I wasn't going to explain it for them. I wanted her to do that. "Say something, Stephanie," I said, my voice even. She swallowed hard. This isn't what it looks like." The other woman let out a sharp laugh. "Oh, please. You can't even say his name, can you?" More whispers. My friends, our neighbors, people who had known us for years, started realizing this wasn't some misunderstanding. This was something bigger. Stephanie's eyes darted around, looking for an escape. Can we talk inside?" she whispered to me, her voice shaking. "Why? So you can lie to me without an audience." Her nostrils flared. "It's not like that." I stood up. "Really? Because from where I'm standing, it sure looks like you took a vacation with another man while telling me we couldn't afford one as a family." I let the words hang in the air, making sure everyone absorbed them. "Then you came home and kissed me like nothing happened." Stephanie's eyes glistened, her breath quickening. Who is he?" I cut her off. She blinked, caught off guard. "What?" "You heard me. Say his name." Her lips parted, but no words came out. The silence was enough. The other woman scoffed. "Pathetic." She turned to me, voice steady. "You deserve better than this. We both do." She shoved the folder against Stephanie's chest before turning on her heel and walking out. Stephanie stood there, frozen, gripping the evidence of her own betrayal. And then, the party, our party, shattered into murmurs, disbelief, and disgusted looks. She turned back to me, desperation creeping into her voice. "Babe, please." I stepped back. "Don't call me that." And then, I walked inside, leaving her to face the mess she created. But I wasn't done. Not yet. I shut the door behind me, leaving Stephanie outside with the weight of her lies. I could still hear the murmur of voices from the backyard. Some hushed, others sharp with disbelief. A few people had already started leaving, their footsteps crunching against the gravel driveway. No one wanted to stick around for a disaster this big. Good. Let her drown in it. I poured myself a drink, my hands steady. Not because I wasn't angry, but because I had burned through the anger days ago. Now I was just done. Stephanie must have realized I wasn't coming back out because a minute later, the door creaked open. She stepped inside, her breathing shaky. "What the hell was that?" she hissed. I turned to her slowly. That was the truth finally catching up to you." She ran a hand through her hair, looking frantic. "You humiliated me in front of everyone." I let out a cold laugh. "You humiliated yourself, Stephanie. I just stopped covering for you." "It wasn't like that," she shot back, her voice trembling. "It wasn't." "Then tell me." I cut in, my voice sharp. "Tell me what it was like. Because from where I'm standing, it looks exactly like what it is. You cheating on me and lying about it." Her mouth opened, then closed. She had no words. Finally, she whispered, "I never meant for it to happen." I exhaled through my nose, gripping the edge of the counter. That was the excuse? That was the best she had? "Oh, so what?" I scoffed. "You tripped and landed in a beachfront hotel room with him?" She flinched. I was unhappy." Her voice broke on the last word, like she was trying to turn this into my fault. I nodded slowly, as if I was actually considering that. "So instead of talking to me, you flew off with another man? Instead of fixing what was broken, you took a vacation and played happy family with him?" Tears welled in her eyes, but I didn't feel sorry for her. Not anymore. "I didn't know how to tell you." I clenched my jaw. "You didn't know how to tell me, but you knew how to sneak around behind my back? You knew how to lie to my face, sleep in my bed, pretend everything was fine." Her lips trembled. "I still love you." I stared at her for a long moment, then took a slow sip of my drink.
No, Stephanie.
"You don't. Because love doesn't do this. Love doesn't lie, doesn't betray, doesn't come home smelling like salt water and someone else's cologne and expect everything to be okay." "I can fix this," she whispered, stepping toward me. I set my glass down and met her gaze head-on. "No, you can't." Her breath hitched, because for the first time she realized I wasn't going to fight for this. I wasn't going to beg, plead, scream. I wasn't going to ask why or listen to half-hearted apologies. I was done. "Pack your things," I said, voice steady. "I want you out by tomorrow." She gasped. You don't mean that." I held her stare, unflinching. "Ido." And that was it. The moment the final thread snapped. Stephanie had spent so much time sneaking, so much energy lying, that she never stopped to consider the one thing she thought would never happen. That I wouldn't want her anymore. Stephanie didn't move. She just stood there, blinking rapidly like she was trying to process what I had just said. "You're kicking me out?" she whispered, as if the thought had never even crossed her mind. I didn't flinch. "I'm asking you to leave, yes." Her lips parted, her chest rising and falling faster. "But where am I supposed to go?" I shrugged. "Ask your boyfriend. He seemed good enough for a vacation. Maybe he's good enough for a home too." That hit her. Her face twisted, and for a second, I saw something I hadn't seen since this whole thing started: genuine panic. "I was going to end things with him," she rushed out, "before you even found out. It was just a stupid mistake." I let out a breathy laugh. "A mistake? A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. A mistake is burning dinner. You planned this, Stephanie. You lied. You covered your tracks. You used our family as an excuse." I shook my head. "That's not a mistake. That's a choice." Her lower lip trembled. "I didn't want to lose you. You lost me the second you picked him." I could see her fighting against reality, trying to find an angle, an excuse, something to soften the inevitable. But there was nothing left to say. "Please, we can work through this." "No." I cut her off. "I don't want to fix this. I don't want you." She staggered back like I had struck her. The power had shifted, and she knew it. For however long she had been playing her little game, She had never actually considered what would happen if she lost. If I stopped caring. You can stay in the guest room tonight, I said, already turning away. But by tomorrow, I want you gone. She didn't argue this time, just stood there, silent. I walked upstairs, my hands steady, my chest tight but not broken. Not anymore. She thought she had played me, thought she had control. She was wrong. And tomorrow, when she walked out that door, she'd know it too. The next morning, Stephanie was still in the house. I half expected her to try one last desperate plea. But when I came downstairs, she was just sitting at the kitchen table, staring at her untouched coffee. Suitcases by the door. She looked up, eyes red, lips pressed together like she was debating saying something. I didn't give her the chance. You have everything? A pause. Then a slow nod. Yeah. Good. She exhaled, fingers tightening around the mug. I really screwed this up, didn't I? I didn't respond. She already knew the answer. I don't know who I am without you. I finally met her gaze. Maybe you should have thought about that before you went looking for someone else. Her shoulders sagged. She looked exhausted, drained. But I wasn't about to feel sorry for her. She had made her choices. Now she had to live with them. I grabbed my keys, nodding toward the door. I'll drive you to your parents' place. She stiffened. You really won't even. No. I cut her off. I won't. Let's go. She wiped at her eyes, grabbed her bags, and followed me out to the car. The drive was silent. When we pulled up to her parents' house, she hesitated before opening the door. Are you really never going to forgive me? I stared ahead, gripping the wheel. I'll move on. But forgiving you?
No.
She nodded slowly, swallowing hard. I still love you. I didn't answer. I just watched as she stepped out, dragging her bags behind her. And as she disappeared inside, I let out a slow breath. It was over. Now it was time for me to move forward. The divorce papers were served within the week. She didn't fight them, maybe because she knew she had no ground to stand on. Meanwhile, her boyfriend? Turns out he was married. His wife took him to the cleaners after that party, just like I knew she would. From what I heard, Stephanie and her soulmate didn't even last a month before things fell apart. I never spoke to her again outside of necessary conversations about the kids. And even then, it was brief, formal. The love? Gone. Took time, but I healed. I rebuilt my life. And Stephanie? She had to live with the fact that she threw away everything for nothing.
Bye.